Hello YouTubers! I will be going through this week's games, review last week's tips, and also go through my Brownlow votes. My 3-2-1 Brownlow votes for season 2025 are in top spot, respectively, Will Day, Hawthorn with 3 votes, also Finn Callaghan, GWS. In third spot on 2 votes, I have 2 players that are K. Amon, Hawthorn, and Josh Kelly of GWS Giants. These are my Brownlow votes after opening round. Before we continue, I would like to ask for a very small favour. If you enjoy this AFL content, please take a sec to subscribe to the channel and like the video. That would be awesome. Okay, let's return back to the show. My opening round tips. The first game, Friday night. I tipped Swans beat Hawthorn. No good. Just not good. Will Day inspired Hawthorn to a magnificent win. The second game on Sunday between the Giants and the Magpies. Yeah, got that correct. The Giants beat the Magpies by 52 points. So therefore, I got 1 out of 2 from opening round. The first game of round 1 is played on the Thursday night between Richmond and Carlton. The players in the mix may potentially be Sam Lalo if he recovers from injury. For Carlton, the players in the mix will be new GWS recruit Nick Haynes and Lucas Camporelli taken in last year's draft. The players injured for Richmond are Judson Clark, Gib Curse, both to ACL knee injury, Houghton, LeFou, Precious out for 3 weeks, Ralph Smith's out for 3 weeks, Smiley out with hamstring for 3 weeks, Tyler Young still out with an ACL injury, and Noel Bolton suspended for 5 games. For Carlton, they will be missing Lucas' twin brother, Ben Camporelli, out with an ankle injury, Sincotta, Charlie Curday out for another week or 2 with a knee injury, Matt Duffy, a knee injury, Durden out for 6 weeks, Hudson Keefe, 5 weeks, Pitnorth, 6 weeks, and unfortunately, Jagger Smith did his ACL knee injury and is out for the whole of season 2025. If we look at the ruck midfield between both sides, for Richmond, you got Nankervis against De Koning. I expect De Koning to win the hit-outs and also be athletic in terms of getting possessions and contributing more around the ground for Carlton. So I'll give the chocolates to De Koning. Then midfield, we got Sarah against McAuliffe. Sarah's a gun player for Carlton, 2-way running. McAuliffe is a second-year player. I expect Sarah to do well against McAuliffe. Then you got Sam Walsh against Campbell. Richmond just decimated with so many injuries, and I expect Walsh to dominate against Campbell. Then in centre, we got Cripps against Hopper. Hopper's a good solid player, but Cripps, Brownlow Meathers, gun player. Expect Cripps to dominate against Hopper. Then on the wings, you got Ross against Akers. Akers, good defensive, 2-way running, can run up and down and contribute around the ground. And Ross will be playing in a young, developing team for Richmond. So I'll give a chalk for Akers. On the other side of the wing, you got Ollie Hollins against Seth Green. Hollins played finals last year, did well. Green is still a young player from the mid-season draft. Just looking at the 2 rosters, there's a big class difference between Richmond and Carlton. Richmond losing those half a dozen players last year, or from last season, in Rioli, Martin, Bolton, etc. Carlton are in the premiership window. I expect Carlton to win pretty easily on a Thursday night, and I'll tip Carlton to win this game. The second game of the week is between Hawthorn and Essendon. The players in the mix for Hawthorn are Gunston, Bruce, and CJ. For the Bombers, their play in the mix is new first-round draftee in Isaac Kako. The players injured for Hawthorn are James Blunt with a knee injury, expected to be out for another 6 to 8 weeks, and injuries to Butler with a leg injury, Mitchell Laws with a knee injury, and Warple, who injured his ankle against Sydney last week. For the Bombers, they'll be missing Goofy with a hamstring injury for approximately 6 to 8 weeks. If we compare the ruck midfield setup of both sides, you got Meek against Draper. Meek contributed a couple goals against Sydney last week, but I expect Draper to beat Meek in ruck. Then you got the 2 midfielders of Newcombe against Parrish. Newcombe inside outside, Parrish is more outside. So I'll give the chocolates to Newcombe because he can also kick goals up in the forward line. And then you got Will Day against Merritt. Will Day can go inside outside, great leg speed, and also can kick goals. For the Bombers, you got Merritt, a great accumulator with his left foot, go on the outside, get possession, set up play. Given that Will Day is more dynamic, I'll give the chocolates to Day. Then in the midfield, you got Mackenzie against Caldwell. They're pretty similar between those two players, so I'll just say it's even between those two. Then on the wings, you got Eamon against Dersma, both ex-Port Adelaide Power players. Eamon, great accuracy with his left foot. Dersma is pretty speedy, but I'll give the chocolates to Eamon. Then on the other side of the wing, you got D'Ambrosio against his old side, against Harrison Jones. Harrison Jones is more of a tall wingman. D'Ambrosio more runs with the ball, or can get the ball and pass to his teammates going forward. Give the chocolates to D'Ambrosio, as he almost made the All-Australian team last year. Based on this, Hawthorn had a magnificent win against Sydney last week. This is Essendon's first game of the year. I'm going to tip Hawthorn to beat the Bombers for this game. The next game is between Geelong and Fremantle, played in Geelong. The players in the mix for Geelong is new recruit Bailey Smith. For the Dockers, their players in the mix is new recruit Bolton from Richmond and new draftee in Murphy Reid. The players that are injured for Geelong are Braun with a finger injury, Conway with a back injury, Arvidsich out with an ankle injury 4 to 6 weeks, and Manham with a foot injury, potentially out for 3 games. For Fremantle, their players that are injured are Darcy out with an ankle injury for 5 weeks. Their injuries see Draper, Owen Jones out with a back injury for the whole season, and Hay Young may potentially be out for this week with a hamstring injury. If you compare the ruck midfield setup of both sides, for Geelong you got Chris Stanley against Luke Jackson. Jackson's athletic, so is Stanley, but Jackson is also good in hitouts. I give the chocolates to Jackson over Stanley. And then in the midfield, you got Holmes against Brayshaw. Holmes is outside elite speed. Brayshaw is a great accumulator, so we just give the chocolates to Max Holmes. Then you got Smith against Sarong. Bailey Smith coming back from knee injury. Sarong is a great midfield inside and can run all day. Given that Smith, if he's back to his form, potential great midfield. So I'll just give the chocolates to Sarong. In centre, we've got Dangerfield and Young if he's playing this game. Dangerfield has speed, can go inside, outside and kick goals. Hannah Young, one of the best left footers in the league. Great decision making, great elite kicker. Not as fast as Dangerfield, so I'll just give the chocolates to Dangerfield over Young. And then on the wings, we got Dempsey against Jeremy Sharp. Dempsey helps with the defense, can run up and down or two-way running. So does Sharp. I'll give to Dempsey for more experience, just. And then on the other side of the wing, you got Bowers against O'Driscoll. O'Driscoll is still a young player. Bowers has so many experience, or been in the system for like half a dozen years, and has good skills, so I'll just give the chocolates to Bowers. Given that the game is played in Geelong on a Saturday, first game of the season, Geelong doesn't really lose at home. Bailey Smith's first game as a Cat. I'm going to tip Geelong to win this game. The next game is between Sydney and Brisbane, played at the SCG. The players in the mix for Sydney are Cleary and Sheldericks. For the Lions, their players in the mix is McCarthy, Levi Ashcroft and Sam Day. The players injured for the Swans are Bowen, Cunningham, Towie, Edwards. Fox is out with injury to his calf. Gordon out for potential 5 weeks with an ankle injury. McDonald out ankle injury as well for 5 weeks. Captain Mills out with foot injury. Snell, and now Taylor Adams with a hamstring injury. So many outs for Sydney. For the Lions, they will be missing Kieran Coleman, potentially 5 weeks. Do they? 5 weeks as well, both recovering from the ACL knee injury. And thirdly, Darcy Gardner also recovering from a knee injury, likely to be out 2 to 3 weeks. If we compare the ruck midfield setup of both sides, you got Grundy against the big O McInerney. Grundy good at hitouts, also contribute around the ground. McInerney is real good at hitting the ball, or hitouts I should say. It will be pretty close between those two, but Grundy will contribute more around the ground with possession, so I'll give the advantage to Grundy. And then in midfield you got Heaney against Neil. Heaney is athletic and more outside, whereas Neil can go inside, get a lot of possession, get the hard ball gets. I'll give the chocolates to Neil over Heaney. And then you got Rowbottom against Dunkley. Rowbottom, good outside player. Dunkley is a solid inside mid and is very clean hands. I'll give the chocolates to Dunkley over Rowbottom. And then in centre, you got Chad Warner against Will Ashcroft. Chad Warner, outside player. Great elite kick, can also get inside. Will Ashcroft, smooth mover, inside, outside. One last year's Norm Smith medalist. Say it's even between those two players. Then on the wings, you got Florent against McCluggage. Florent, good player, even though he kicked the ball in defence last week to McDonald of Hawthorn and gave a goal to Hawks. But Florent is a good solid player. Then you got McCluggage for Brisbane. Good on the outside, two-way running, helps back in defence, class player, good skills. I expect McCluggage to get the chocolates over Florent. Then on the other wing, you got the tagger James Jordan against Berry. Jordan, as I said, is more of a tagger, whereas Berry is a wingman who finds the ball, and I expect Berry to dominate over Jordan. Sydney had a bad performance last week. It was against Hawthorn, who were awesome. Brisbane, unfortunate of the events of the cyclone, that weren't able to play last week. I'm going to tip the Lions to beat the Swans for this game. Just too much class on their roster. And Sydney, with all these injuries, how are they going to recover with about 5 to 6 quality players missing? The next game is between Western Bulldogs and North Melbourne. The players in the mix for the Doggies are new recruit Matt Kennedy from Carlton, draftee Davidson and Hines. For the Kangaroos, their players in the mix are new recruits in Parker from Sydney, Darling from West Coast, Daniel against his old side from the Doggies, and new recruit, high-end draft midfielder O'Sullivan. The players injured for the Doggies are Captain Bontempelli, big blow, out with calf injury for 6 weeks. Dale out with quad injury. Jones out with hamstring injury. Johansson also out with hamstring injury. Treloar out with calf injury for 3 weeks. Waitman out for 10 weeks. So many injuries to the Doggies. For the Kangaroos, they'll be missing Coleman, who's out for Achilles for 10 weeks. Dersma is a test for this week for a quad. Braden George out for 6 weeks. Goda out with hamstring injury. And Wardlaw out with hamstring injury for 6 weeks. So many injuries as well for the Kangaroos, but the Doggies have more. If we compare the ruck midfield setup from both sides, for the Doggies, you got Tom English against Xeri. Both pretty good ruckmans, and they're pretty good, impressive players. So it's even between those two. And then in midfield, you got Matt Kennedy against David Giacchi. Kennedy's a good inside player. David Giacchi can go inside, outside, can explode our packs. I'll give the chocolates to David Giacchi over Kennedy. Then you got Tom Liberatore against Sheasel. Liber, hard inside mid. Sheasel, great elite disposal, more outside. Say we give the chocolates to Sheasel. And then in centre, we've got Sanders against Tom Power. It's pretty even between those two players. Say it's even. And then on the wing, we got Scott against Williams. Scott is a good young player. Williams, former All-Australian for the Doggies. Say we give the chocolates to Bailey Williams. And then on the other wing, we got Richards against McKerker. McKerker is a good young player for the Kangaroos. However, Richard has great decision making and is pretty elite. I just give the edge to the Doggies midfield. However, looking at the roster and all the injuries that the Doggies have copped and its early rounds of the season, I'm going to tip the Kangaroos to beat the Western Bulldogs. The next game is between Collingwood versus Port Adelaide on a Saturday night. The players in the mix is Dan Houston against his old side and Long. For the Power, their players in the mix are new recruit in Lukosius, Richards against his old team, and also first round draftee in Berry. The players injured for the Magpies are Crockham out for a week, Mason Cox still out for another 2 weeks, the goalie's out for another week or two, Harrison injured, Tom Mitchell injured for 4, Steen out for 3+ weeks. For the Power, they'll be missing Marshall for all of 2025. Butters is out with a knee injury for 5 or 6 weeks. Ragalia, Vicente, both out with knee injuries, and Zert Thatcher with back injury. If we compare the ruck midfield setup of both sides, you got Cameron against Sweet, pretty even between those two players. Say that's even. Then you got the gun Nick Dacos, if he recovers from cramp, against William Drew. Drew hard inside mid, Dacos elite, outside player, great passing. Give the chocolates to Dacos over William Drew, and Drew can be a tagger. Then you got Carryman against Rosie. Carryman's a good solid player as a midfield, but Rosie, class, can go inside, outside, great sideway movement, and is a captain. I give the chocolates to Rosie over Perryman. Then in midfield, you got Sidebottom against Horn Francis. Sidebottom, a veteran, still smart, but has lost his pace. And Horn Francis, I think he's going to be top 10 in the league in the next 2 years. Inside, outside, explosiveness. Just a great player, or a potential great player in the making. I'd give the Chocolates to Horn Francis over to Goey. Then on the wing, you got Cripps against Burgoyne. Cripps has played over 200 consecutive games. What a trade, or what a recruit, I should say, from the Brisbane Lions. Good player, good on the outside. Burgoyne, good young player, was their best player in last year's preliminary final loss to Sydney. I'll give the Chocolates to Cripps over Burgoyne. Then on the other wing, you got Dacos against Sin. Dacos, Jay Dacos, I should say. Good player, premiership player. Sin, good young player, has good kicking skills, good decision making. With the experience of Josh Dacos, I give the Chocolates to Josh Dacos. Looking at the ruck midfield setup, it's pretty even, and that's Port Adelaide's strength. And Collingwood got other positions that they got quality players like Dan Hughes and Penderby off half-back, just elite kicking. Based on saying all that, I'm going to tip Collingwood to beat Port Adelaide Power. The next game is between the Adelaide Crows and St Kilda, played on a Sunday. Players in the mix for the Crows are new recruit in Cummings from GWS Giants, Neil Bullen from Melbourne, Pitting also from GWS, and first round draftee in Sid Draper. For the Saints, their players in the mix are Trelagio, first round draftee of last year's draft, Jack McRae, acquired from a trade from the Western Bulldogs, and midfielder taken from last year's draft in Hugh Boxshell. The players injured for the Crows are Chase Jones for 2 weeks and Kieran Shawn out for the season. For the Saints, a lot of players injured. Taru out for 6 weeks, Sharman out for 4 weeks, Philippe out for 10 weeks, Max King out for another week, Dougal Howell out with a short injury for 10 weeks, Liam Henry out for 4 weeks. The Saints have got so many injuries. With St Kilda's injuries, let's look at Saints defence and the Crows forward line. So many injuries for the Saints. You got Wilkie against Darcy Fogarty, Wilkie, All-Australian defender Fogarty. Good young forward, or I should say 8 year in the system, should be at his peak now. Say we just give the Chocolates to Wilkie over Fogarty. In full back, they got so many injuries, I don't know who's going to replace how. And therefore I name Cordy as fullback against Riley Philthorpe. Well, Riley Philthorpe's about to explode this season, and I can see him kicking 40 to 50 goals this year. Philthorpe's going to be too strong, too quick, too athletic for Cordy. I'll give the Chocolates to Philthorpe. And then you got Webster against Walker. Walker still has skills, and if he plays as a third tall, he's going to be too strong for Webster, and there's a potential that Walker could get a bag in this game if the Crows get enough inside 50. Then you got the small to medium defenders. You got Wangling Mirror against Rankin. Wangling Mirror, great outside disposal, good elite skills, but Rankin is too electric if the ball's inside 50, if it's deep one-on-one. Say I give the Chocolates to Rankin. Rankin reminds me of Shea Bolton from Fremantle. He's about to explode and turn into a top 30 player of the league, I believe, in Rankin. Then you got Sinclair against Rochelle. Sinclair is a great defender. Say I'll give the Chocolates to Sinclair over Rochelle. And then you got Hunter Clark against Ben Keys. Ben Keys is just another midfield rotation. Could play midfield, but more in a full line. And Keys finds his 1 to 2 goals per game. And say it's even between those two. Just looking at Adelaide's full line, it looks too strong for the Saints' undersized defence. If the Crows get enough inside 50, I expect their full lines to kick a higher score. Therefore, I'm going to tip the Crows to beat St Kilda on the Sunday. The second last game of the week is between Melbourne and the Giants. The player in the mix for Demons is new recruit Harry Langford, first round draftee of last year's draft. For the Giants, their players in the mix are Dickerson, Alir and Ware. The players injured for the Demons are Hoare with a hand injury, McAdam, Achilles out for all of season 2025, McVie, hamstring injury, out for 6 weeks, Melksham, still out with a hamstring injury, Moitz Wakeman, out for season 2025, Cozzy Pickett suspended until round 4, Charlie Spargo, out with Achilles, also Forstrup, but out with a back injury for 6 to 8 weeks. For the Giants, there were a number of players suspended, Angman for 5 weeks, Farley out for 5 weeks, Fonte out for 3 games, McMullen out for 3 games, and Riccardi out for 3 games. The other players are missing. Tom Green out with calf injury, out for another week or 2. Jesse Hogan out with a thumb injury, 2 to 3 weeks. And new recruit Jake Stringer out with a hamstring injury for 2 to 3 weeks. If we compare the ruck midfield setup of both sides, in ruck for Melbourne, Gawn against Heath, given that of the injury to Briggs, who suffered a neck and a concussion injury, I expect Gawn to dominate against Keith. In midfield, you got Petrarca, good inside-outside play against Rigniglio, good outside play, also hard inside. I'd give the chocks just to Petrarca over Rigniglio. Then on the second midfield, you got Oliver against Kelly. Oliver played well in pre-season with his inside-outside. Kelly was awesome last week against Collingwood. I'll give the chocks to Kelly over Oliver. And then in midfield, you got Winey against Ward, both inside hard nut midfields, so it's even between those two players. And then on the wings, you got Windsor against O'Halloran. Windsor played lots of games last year, did well in his debut season. O'Halloran, finding his feet, played well last week, kicked a goal. I give the chocolates just Windsor over O'Halloran. And then on the other wing, you got Ed Langland against Callaghan. Ed Langland can run all day, transition defense and offense. Callaghan gonna play more time on the ball. What a player. Was explosiveness last week. Best player on the ground. I expect Callaghan to play well against Langland. I just give the chocolates to the Melbourne midfield. Given that the Giants got so many injuries, especially their full line, playing at the MCG, they've got to travel, even though they were impressed against Collingwood last week. I'm going to tip the D's to beat GWS Giants. The last game of the week is between West Coast Eagles and Gold Coast Suns. West Coast Eagles under the new coach of McCulture. The players in the mix for West Coast Eagles are new recruits in Baker from Richmond, also Graham from Richmond, and always from Carlton. The player in the mix for Gold Coast Suns are Rioli, new recruit from Richmond, Noble, new recruit from Collingwood Magpies, and Elliot Hilberg, new recruit from the Crows. The players that are injured for West Coast are Lazo with a foot injury, Chester with an ankle injury, Jamison out for 6 weeks with an ankle injury, Dom Sheed is out for season 2025 with a knee injury, and Elliot Yeo out with a knee and ankle injury. For the Suns, they will be missing Flanders, who's out with a back injury for 1 to 2 weeks. First round draftee Lombard out with a shoulder injury for 10 weeks. David Swallow out with a knee injury for 8 weeks. And Weller is a test with his hamstring. If we compare the ruck midfield setup from both sides, in ruck you got Williams against Witts. Witts won a Premier Ruckman. I expect Witts to dominate against Williams. In midfield you got Tim Kelly against Rao. Kelly good on the outside. Rao inside mid-ball can also extract and go on the outside. I expect that to be in favour of Rao. Then you got Harley Reid against Touk Miller. Harley Reid, young gun player. Every single club in Victoria wants him, or every single club in the league would want him. Just a gun young player. Can fend off inside, outside, can go full kick goals against Touk Miller. Good on the inside, great courage, can go on the outside. I give the advantage to Reid over Miller. Then in centre, you got Hewitt to replace Yo, who's injured. Hewitt against Noel Anderson. Anderson runs on the board, class player, good decision making, good outside player, great passing. I expect Anderson to dominate against Hewitt, third year player. Then on the wings, you got Jaden Hunt against Powell. Hunt, good outside speed. Powell, help with transition defense and good at passing the ball going forward. I just give the chocks to Powell over Hunt. And then you got Diagon against Closely. Say it's even between those two. I give the ruck midfield setup advantage just to Gold Coast. However, West Coast got quality players around the ground. Got McGovern in defence, and you got like the small forwards of Owies and Captain Austin Allen and Waterman. Waterman who came out top 10 in the goal kicking medal last year. Just look at the roster, the games played in West Australia. First game for the new coach. I'm going to tip West Coast Eagles to beat Gold Coast Suns. My tips for this week's games are: the Blues will beat the Tigers, the Hawks will win the second game and beat Essendon, Geelong to beat Freo, the Lions to beat the Swans, the Kangas to beat the Doggies, Collingwood, Dan Houston's return against Port Adelaide to beat Port, the Crows to beat the Saints, the D's to beat the Giants, and the Eagles to beat the Suns. Thank you for watching my video, and it would be appreciated if you can subscribe and comment to my videos. Hopefully you enjoyed my video, and see you next time. Cheers or bye.